Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vital MX post-race show. And this episode from Millville, Minnesota is going to focus on a couple of key storylines. You can probably already guess what the narratives to exit Spring Creek were. Jeremy Martin is one of them, Eli Tomac is another, Jorge Prado is another. So expect a lot of discussion about those guys. And of course we'll touch on everyone else in both classes as well. All of the interesting stories, feet on the ground, as always. Round 7 of 2025 Pro Motocross. The SMX playoffs are actually coming up quite quickly. So even that is worth talking about. I'm your host, Lewis Phillips, as per usual, joined by Michael Lindsay. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Pretty decent. My travel, as always, somehow turns out to be miserable no matter how quickly I try to get home. How about yourself?
Quick is not the answer. Nothing ever comes good from doing things quickly.
Well, some of us have shit to get back to.
Nope. Nothing comes good from doing things quickly. Nothing
comes before the show, right?
I don't know what that means.
I was saying priority is the pod.
Well, this is quite early today, actually. I don't really know why. I feel a little out of sorts because it's almost been rushed.
I feel like we're ahead of the game. I'm excited.
Well, we'll see because the content in here may suffer as a result of rushing, or it may.
Come on, we got good things to talk about this weekend. I mean, some of the same old in terms of we don't really have any differences in the championships, but at least there were some cool narratives to talk about this weekend.
You know who doesn't rush things, and you can see it in the quality of what they do? All of our sponsors, like Decal Works, Yamaha Motor USA, Yoshimura, Motorex, Fox Racing. I can think of a couple of competitors in those sectors, and it's so obvious that things are maybe rushed. The care isn't taken that you want from a supplier of any product. But not those guys, not those 5 loyal, brilliant companies.
Those are the kind of people you need in your life.
Attention to detail, no stone unturned. They fill all buckets. Everyone in life has 5 buckets that they need to fill, but it's very difficult. But those guys manage it. In fact, they manage to fill other people's buckets after their own. That's the sort of input they give into other people's lives. But thank you to all of those companies for their support. I don't know where to start. We're not going to start with Jeremy Martin, because that's 250s, and that feels too far from the norm.
It's difficult. 450s we can get the Jett Hunter chase narrative later. Do we get to the 2 elephants in the room, Tomac and Prado?
Okay. Who are we more worried about?
I
think the answer to this is clear. Because
Prado.
I think we're more worried about Tomac now because it's a recent phenomenon. I think Prado, our expectations have sunk so far that we're almost immune to it at this point.
Numb to this.
Yeah, like it doesn't really carry the same shock factor, although I'll contradict myself and say that what I saw in the first moto at Millville is, without doubt, the most shocking thing I've ever seen in motocross history. I honestly cannot believe what I saw from Prado in the first moto at Millville. Beggars belief. I cannot believe what I saw. Equally, I can't really believe what I saw from Eli. So I don't know. I think both things are an absolute disaster. I don't know how either situation turns around, and extremely concerning for all involved, as well as those who will be involved next year, I would imagine. I don't know with either one. I honestly don't know. It's baffling. I've never seen Prado perform like this, and I've never seen Tomac perform like this. That's the crux of it.
The only thing I guess I will say with Tomac is over the years, but it's a little more. It's weird for it to be pro motocross, but in SX we've seen lulls he can come back from. I don't know. I don't know if he's not comfortable. He doesn't look like himself. I don't know if I've ever seen him, dare I say, labor so much in a race. Especially not coming off a recent injury or anything of that nature. Like, just to see him at times not look ragged, but not look like he's really all there. I don't know if we're just a little bit over it at this point. Just on to SMX, on to next year, on to KTM. If bike setup's that far off, it doesn't look good. As I will play a tune that you say almost every weekend. Oh, how I wish Yamaha would make him go to the scrum or a press conference afterwards, because I really want to, like, for 3 weeks now, I've wanted to ask him just what's going on. I spoke to him a bit on press day, but about trucks, not about the ring. I was waiting until after the race to see how Millville was to converse about that, but we have no answers. At least with Prado, we hear from him. It's not always the most bright conversation, but at least we have an idea of what he's thinking or where he's at. And with Eli, I'm in mystery land right now.
In the nicest way possible, and I don't want to get into this, but in the nicest way possible, it is an absolute fucking disgrace that Eli Tomac can go without doing a single bit of media, from TV to traditional media to anything of the sort, a fucking Instagram video maybe. It is an absolute disgrace and a black mark on the sport that a top rider can manage that through good days and bad. I think that's just where I'm at on it. And I think, yeah, I don't think there's an excuse for it. I honestly don't. Don't do an interview with me. Don't do an interview with you. Do one with someone, though. Like, anyone, maybe? Like, a fan with a phone? Anyone. Anyway, I have two theories on Tomac. One is, coming into the season, there was all of this talk about, mainly coming from me, I guess, of he's missed so much outdoor time, there's going to be an adjustment period, how is this going to work? And he kind of poo-pooed it pre-Fox Raceway, and also poo-pooed it with his results across the first couple of rounds. Is it possible that, and we see it with a lot of riders who come back from injury, you're a bit naive to begin with, it's all exciting, it's all new, and it works. And then once the excitement wears off a little bit, the adrenaline, then you start to see the effects of what you missed. And maybe the grind of the outdoors is now actually like, okay, yeah, I have missed a lot of outdoor time, and I do need to just get through this season to rebuild, re-understand, recondition my body and mindset to tackle this thing.
Yeah.
That's one. Do you want to tackle that now, or do you want me to go to two?
Go to two. I want to hear what two is.
Two, I disagree with you about the Supercross lulls because they are very specific to individual situations. But what we have seen is 2021 or 2020. One of those years, I think 2021, because it would have been the last year on Kawasaki, I imagine. Bike failure early in the season. This is 2020, I think. One of those years, it was just meh the entire time, and everyone, similarly to now, was like, can he ever come back from this? Is this the end? And then the next year was amazing. So perhaps there is a subconscious there that is like, championship's gone, I'm not really having much fun, I'm changing teams. So even if it isn't an actual decision, subconsciously something inside of him is backing off that 2%.
Yeah. Which could even play into the factor of like, okay, we know he's doing a 2-year deal. That's this late in his career. It's a big commitment. So maybe subconsciously it is just kind of like, okay, ride this out. We hit the ground running. Because there is a part of me that wants to agree more with the second one in the factor that he just doesn't look like, I get your point of like, underestimating what it's like to come back after missing so many times in pro motocross. But I would go with that narrative more if the opening rounds weren't so good. After we had some pretty solid opening rounds, the Moto Win High Point, which of course the red flag, but he looked excellent at. But then we've had bike issues, and now since then it's just been kind of And
but what about my point about the grind? He isn't used to the grind.
Yeah, I just like it gets to the point where it's just a little baffling to watch somebody look that solid through a moto early in the season to now. I get your point about the grind, but he's also extremely seasoned. He's one of the grittiest guys in the game. Like I said, it comes across more to me of just being like, bike issues, I'm good. Just ride it out, just not really maybe into it at the moment. Maybe kind of meandering and searching a little bit. Like I said, bike setup kind of looks worse than it did earlier in the season too. But part of that, it can also be as simple as he doesn't look like he's pushing, whether he doesn't feel like he can push as hard or he isn't because of something going on. I'm not going to label that it's, the bike setup's gone just worse on its own. Part of it could be just the input he's giving to the motorcycle, how, where his effort level is at, whether, purposeful or not.
Everyone, listen to these words. Without a crash or bike problem, Eli Tomac finished 9th 1 minute and 37 seconds behind the leader. Like, what? And then add in, for additional shock factor, he was 6 seconds ahead of Tony Cairoli on a Ducati.
With half a butt cheek missing.
None of this is good. Like, this is... that. Honestly, I can't even believe those words I've just said. And even, again, I'll have to go back and look, but that 2021-2020 season, whatever one it was, I don't think there was an instance like this. And then, to take this further, or not further, but to, give more factual credibility to the discussion, he started 4th in the first moto. Like, the start was good. Mm-hmm. Maybe the tall starting blocks helped. Didn't so much in the second moto. He was 11th on lap 1. But still, Eli Tomac starts 11th and finishes 9th? That's what we do now? This isn't Eli. We all know who Eli is on his worst day. This was... What do you say? This wasn't his worst day. I don't know how you define that. Because maybe it was. And maybe the fact that it wasn't his most dramatic day. Let's say that. But maybe that's what makes it his worst. I'm in shock, horror, and dare I say... Okay, so first of all, we're both agreed he doesn't win an overall this year. That's not even a conversation.
No.
We don't even need to discuss. Does Valentin Guillot win an overall? That's a similar conversation at this point.
We tripped into there, Jesus.
No. We have fun. SMX is huge then, is it not? Like, SMX, he has to answer the bell and show something similar to what he did at the start of the outdoor season.
Yeah. Which, again, if we're saying we're out of it, somebody that's this deep into their career has the accolades, ski race switch teams. I also partially get it if it's, hey, we've already had bike issues, we're out of the championship, like, I'm leaving here, who gives a rip for outdoors, just settle in, just get through it. SMX is a whole different ball game of 3 races, good money on the line, a title. We could see a nice hard reset for Super Motocross. So yes, I would agree with like all eyes on that for him. I don't see much changing. Like, I don't see him sitting in 9th the rest of Pro Motocross. He'll have better rounds than this, but I also don't know if I see a big rebound.
Well, I see a rebound in the form of 3rd or 4th. I think that's
yeah, that's fair.
Sensible pick. I don't see him top 2 here coming up. The sky is falling. And there's one more element to this. Despite his insistence that he is not a good pick for some reason, I think we can agree now that Chase Sexton is the number 1 450 pick for Team USA. I think we can agree now that Aaron Plessinger probably shouldn't be on the team.
Well, hey, here's the funny one. Compared to 3 rounds ago, we were talking about Deegan in 250s and a Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing and a Red Bull KTM in the 450s, but we were talking about Tomac and Plessinger, and I'd argue now we're talking about Justin Cooper and Chase Sexton. Same 2 teams, just different riders.
Yeah, I think the conversations about whether Chase should go are out now. Like, Chase is like in his second race back, he was 3rd. He was top American. I think it's clear that he should go, helped by the fact that Plessinger, in my humble opinion, is probably going to miss some time. He's having blood work done tomorrow. And based on what we have seen and heard, it really does seem like it's going to be Epstein-Barr or something of the sort. So, and I guess the team is likely to be announced at Ironman. So I don't think you can announce AP when he's sidelined with an illness.
I will say this. I spoke to the AMA this weekend, and they were planning on talking to Chase. He kind of just kept just trying to find the right moment. I will say that your interview with him about his position about going did sit on them about asking, because there was already nervousness of we heard Lewis's interview with him. We're not sure he wants to go.
Well, maybe they should talk to Lewis and Lewis can grease the wheels.
Oh, you think you have some pull here, my friend?
Oh, fuck me. I have all the pull in the world.
If you can 100% claim to fame that you made Chase Sexton ride for Team USA, we'll give you a raise.
Easy. He'll go along with that if I tell him I need it. So at this point, I think it's Eli Tomac or Justin Cooper for the second 450 spot. And as crazy as it sounds, that is a real conversation, which it shouldn't be, because Eli Tomac is 20 times the rider Justin Cooper is. But the sky is falling, or it has fallen, or...
No, they're hardcore leaning on Jacob because the couple times he's gone, he has stepped up and rose to the occasion. However, one other option that was thrown out there, the backup is if Chase is out, is a full Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing squad of Deegan, Cooper, and Tomac. One thing I will say with Tomac's form in general, like we said, whether it's something to kind of race for, I do think he usually does step up for Motocross of Nations. So if selected, I'm not in a huge panic or worry. I think come the time he'll perform. So I'm not worried if we end up having to go with him and Jay Coop if Chase doesn't opt in.
Okay. In times like this, cloudy, I can see clearly now the rain has gone, that sort of vibe. The clouds part and clear blue skies help for us to see the light of day, the light at the end of the tunnel. And for many people, the clear blue skies come in the form of blue motorcycles, like what Yamaha Motor USA have to offer. Although you may be feeling blue, the blue bikes can separate the cloudy skies and show you blue skies and a promising future that lies ahead. The range that Yamaha Motor USA have to offer is quite exquisite. Many models to suit whoever's in your family. You can in fact have a complete family set on Yamaha based on everything that they have to offer, even if you've got a pianist in there. Pianist, sorry.
That may be the oddest sponsor transition I've ever heard you come up with, but bravo.
Well, if I could sing, I would sing I can see clearly now the rain has gone, and it would work a little better. But no, thank you to Yamaha Motor USA for everything they do. I do have a question about Yamaha Motor USA, with all due respect. I don't know if we can do the 70th anniversary graphics worldwide when a white Yamaha already exists.
The Fantic, yeah. If it wasn't for the Fantic, we'd be in great shape, but you were dead on. It gives me that vibes.
I don't know if we can do that anymore. Like the yellow bike, sure. Yeah, let's do the yellow bike. That works. But I feel like it's a little too on the nose with the very obvious and forward-facing white Yamaha that exists in corners of the globe. Just a thought.
I heard one of the mechanics on the team literally say, "Hold on, I'll be back. I got to go work on my Fantic."
I walked past Star and went, "Cold enough's here?" No. But look, all jokes aside, not that there's been any jokes here actually, but all jokes aside, Eli, we all know how good Eli is. That is without debate. We all know that this is so far from the Eli that we expect even on his worst day. And that's where this sheer panic and hysteria comes from. It is so unusual to see Eli Tomac perform in this manner. Redbud, of course, he had the bike problem and the second moto was fairly anonymous, but he moved forward really well in that second moto quietly. Although on paper Redbud wasn't great, there were countless reasons and caveats and whatnot. I kind of have no defense for Millville, which is weird. So that's where we're at.
I even pondered do we randomly get, when we do finally get to speak to him, maybe in the next week or two, do we get the random, oh, by the way, I hurt something a week or two ago, but just
if we do, I'm out.
Riders,
I'm out. If we do,
no. That's what I was saying is, I'm sure some people will wonder if he's hurt. The one thing that kind of kills that for me a little bit is just how riders naturally usually are when something happens during the week. They're a little more closed off. Like I said, I ran into him on Friday and nothing's bandaged up. He's wearing a short t-shirt, just hanging out, guessing about trucks and random stuff, and didn't, was just out and about, as much or more than I usually see him on a Friday. He was over hanging out at J-Mart, but still, usually a rider that has some big issue during the week is a little more reserved on Friday. Not quite, a little bit more out of sight. So that kind of kills any of that for me.
The sky is falling. It has fallen. And I don't know if it's the same sky or a different sky, but the sky is also falling at Monster Energy Kawasaki, because to reiterate, the first moto is the most shocking thing I have ever seen with my own eyes. I cannot believe it. I cannot process it. Good start for Jorge Prado, fourth, I think, from memory. And then he got passed by RJ and Jacob. And I thought to myself, that's not ideal. But, hey, he'll settle in seventh or whatever it was and bring it home. And being passed by RJ and a beaten-up Jacob isn't great, but hey, whatever. And then it went, so much worse. he was 6 seconds a lap slower than Cornelius Tundal for like 4 laps in a row. His pit board one lap said 09, line, need 05s. Like, he can't do that. Like, we can't find 4 seconds.
The drop off is huge because we go the opening 3 laps. He's still not, like, example, Jett's best lap was on lap 5. Hunter's best lap was lap 3, 156. Jorge's was also lap 3, 159. And then all of a sudden, lap 4, we go to a 203. Then we hang out in the 201, 202s. And then all of a sudden, what is it? Randomly lap 11, we're a 203 after a couple of those. Then we jump to a 208 for 3 laps, and then 209s, 210s. The drop, there's like 2 massive drops in drops in lap time all of a sudden.
I will say that I have picked up a new job in recent weeks. And when you watch a TV show, and at the end it says, if you've been affected by any of the goings-on in this program, please call number. I didn't realise, but that must have gone out on the Peacock or the Super Motocross Video Pass for international viewers, I should say. Because at the end of Moto 1, a lot of interest from Finland and different people in Finland saying, you're there, what the actual fuck is going on with Prado? No one can believe it, but I will say that a lot of people are like, yeah, he's not trying. He's mailing this in on purpose to prove a point. Which I don't believe, but Prado is known for maybe over-exaggerating situations, I guess you'd say. I don't know. Like, I could see a world where Prado gets passed by Gio, which, again, add that to the list of things that shouldn't be happening.
With Harry Koulas stalking him.
And just going, I'm done, I'm out, I'm just going to cruise this in. Rather than being like, no, fuck this, I'm going to chase down Guio. Like I say, this is less shocking just purely because we've seen this now for weeks on end. But I think what really hits home with this for me is I felt like things were going in a good direction with Southwick and then Redbud. So if we're back to this, then I've kind of lost hope a little bit because how have we gone back to this?
Yeah, and I think from the general fan standpoint, too, like the big concerning thing is even like this weekend, the 1 lap pace at Redbud and Southwick was much better. The 1 lap pace wasn't fantastic this weekend, but when you see the huge drop-offs, instantly people question mark 1 and 2 things. Is he getting that tired? Or B, is he just riding around eventually? Because I get it. If you're not comfortable, you don't want to push. But at a certain point when you're dropping off that many seconds, I don't know what to ask at that point. Like, I understand if you're not comfortable and you don't want to push anymore, but that really tells me you're just mailing it in a little bit. In a sense, like even when you're uncomfortable, you should be able to be closer to your target delta, to what you're capable of, even if you're a bit on the uncomfortable side.
I am encouraged though that considering how bad the first moto was, he managed to turn it around in the second and get a top 5.
Yeah.
Like, although he was a minute 26 behind and in no way is that good, especially for someone of Prado's level. And from what I know, when he came in from the second moto, there was zero positivity about the result. It was very much down in the dumps.
Yeah. At least Moto 2 has a consistency in the lap times. Where a 2 minute is his best, and then it slowly trends like 01s, 01s, 02s, 02s, 03s. Like you see, and then goes back to 02s. Like there's more of that typical mid-moto fall off on like race 1. At least he keeps it somewhat in the ballpark.
Someone texted me on the first lap of the second moto and said, because Prado started 4th, and said 4th 2, question mark. And I just replied MXGP. Because it feels like this is where we're heading. It doesn't feel like this is where we're heading. It feels like this is the logical safety net that could be called upon at some point. I don't know. I guess, who knows? I feel like I have it on fairly good authority that Prado has rung GP teams, multiple. At least one, but reports are multiple. I
ran into somebody that should know this weekend that said the same thing, that they had contacted Yamaha there about going back there for them and then maybe eventually coming back here again.
I don't think that he can get out of his deal. I know that Prado is a very big flirter I've told this story maybe last week's podcast, but 2020, 2021, when he was in a multi-year deal with KTM still, he was relentlessly hanging around Yamaha. I knew a Yamaha rider at the time, and he was asking questions about the bike and really like all in on this Yamaha love affair. I walked into a restaurant one night, and he was having dinner with the whole of Yamaha. So but ultimately nothing was going to happen because he was under contract with KTM. So he is a bit of a flirter in that regard. So I don't put too much stock if these things have happened. But
I think the tough one, like we always say about contracts, though, is it's been very openly stated he's on 3+1. But as any team will also state, if a rider really doesn't want to be there and it's not going well, contracts can very easily be voided unless. And if you're in Kawasaki's case and it's going this tough and you have Chase incoming, if he did come up with something, I guess the question mark more is if somebody else seriously did want him to do something and made an offer that made sense. I mean, I get it. It's a multi-year deal, but there's also a part of it if you're on Cowie's end, they're just like, do we just let this walk and just focus on bringing in Chase and not worry about this?
All I can say is the first moto was extremely hard on all of my senses, but praise the Lord that he had Fox gear on, because that at least made it somewhat bearable to look at. Without Fox gear, I would have had to shield my eyes, honestly. The brilliant, exquisite Fox Racing apparel really just made me almost forget about the bleak scenario that was in front of me as I just got transported into this wonderland of Fox's immense creativity. With a rich heritage and deep racing DNA, Fox Racing has been at the forefront of motocross for 50 years. They empower the world's best athletes like Jorge Prado, Ken Roxon, Levi Kitchen and Joe Shimoda to chase their dreams. With their gear, dreamers become champions. They honour the past while inventing tomorrow, pushing the limits of racewear and protection, because at Fox, change is the only constant, and that will be reassuring for Jorge Prado because change is needed in some form.
Yeah, two things. The set of gear he wore this weekend is the first of their 2026 line that they announced, and then one thing you mentioned in there was the gaps between like him and Tomac to the front runners. How about that just as our next segue in general as we get into Jett, Hunter, and Chase? What in the actual hell?
I don't find that this surprising, because behind Hunter, Jett, and Chase, you would have Eli and Jacob. Automatically, they would be the next guys. And Jacob was insanely beat up. Eli was in a deep, dark place. So then that removes them, and then okay, this will be the test. If I pick out High Point, let's say, I'll pick a random moto just to try and be. So yeah, an AP as well. That's another one who would kind of bridge the gap. So after Eli, Hunter, and Jett, you've got AP, then Jacob, then Savachi at 54 seconds. So a bit closer than what it was at Millville, but High Point's also maybe a little bit of an more even playing field. Not as sketchy, not as technical, not as demanding on man and machine.
Going off the second moto, Chase 48 seconds down, but RJ a minute and 21.
Hold on, I'm going to find another moto. Okay, here we go. High Point Moto 1. Jett, Hunter, AP, scratch, Jacob, scratch, Eli, scratch, RJ, a minute and 6. So there is some rhyme and reason to this. It's not. I'm not as surprised.
Another 15 seconds plus RJ had a lot of clear air. Don't get me wrong, I get what you're saying, but I'm still, the amount of people I walked, the amount of other people on teams I walked by that were baffled in the second moto, the amount of people that mentioned to me in passing is how much of this is, Chase comes back. We've talked about this before. You hear Jett a little coy in the press conferences about having more to give, like kind of dances it a little bit when he's asked. I don't know, like especially the second moto, the way they took off. You have Hunter, who clearly is like, okay, I have a win in the first moto. Let's make this happen. Let's finally knock Jett off the absolute top spot, pushing his bar, plus Chase stalking them. I just felt like the three of them, and then you've got those two, both the Lawrences up front that also, I don't know if I'd say this purposely, but they got chasing them. You just full hammer down. The brothers are trying to battle it out. Chase is trying to go with them. They push each other. They leave the field, and then the Lawrences lay it down even harder and just drop Chase. It looked in person, it was quite the sight to see.
I'm very surprised that Jett can fall on lap 1 just 5 turns into the race and get up in 11th. How does that happen?
What's funny is somebody pointed this out about his mistakes in general, because I guess on TV, noticeably before Mount Martin, he makes a big mistake, buries the bike, and like Eli hits the corner perfect, and somehow Jett still beats him to the top of the hill. Jett has gone to the point, whether it's a mistake, whether he steps off the bike, anything, he really manages to minimize everything. His mistakes themselves are so minor in how they affect his lap time or pace, and even when he does dump it, I don't know, he's strong, committed, doesn't delay on getting up. I still like you. I don't know how on the first lap you fall and only lose that many spots. Normally you fall a couple corners in and you're going to at least 30 or 40th, because in most cases you're usually in a position where there's enough people around your bike, no matter how quickly you want to get to it, you usually can't.
I don't know what else to say about Jett. He's amazing. He's brilliant. 22 out of 23 victories in 450 motocross, 39 of 46 motos. His win percentage is 96%, simply because he lost one. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I honestly don't know what to say. I have nothing other than what a talent.
So we're back to where, okay, the thing I will ask you is, we'll talk about the other two afterwards, but let's go ahead and say, because let's do Jett. Is it Hunter or Chase that beats him for an overall this year, or do they not? 4 races to go.
I would say Chase simply because Hunter's had 7 attempts at it. So I'll take the newcomer rather than the guy who's had 7 attempts and hasn't done it. Right? That's logical.
Logical, but then the reverse logic is how close Hunter's been. If it takes... Because I still think you take either of them, like, not to be brutal, but even in chases, I hate the word heads up in our sport because everybody lines up, it's heads up. But I mean in the sense of, does it take for either of them, like what happened to Jen in the first moto, does it take a miss start or a fall on lap 1 for either of them to win an overall right now? Because if we say that, then I lean towards Hunter because he's consistently put himself in the position more often.
Yeah, that's true. But then my rebuttal to that is Jett has just crashed on lap 1 twice, and it hasn't made a difference.
Yeah.
So I don't think that reasoning exists anymore. I think we need to find a new launch moment for a new winner. I would hope that Chase. I think that we would see a different Chase after the break. So the attraction of an unknown versus a very known quantity of Hunter. I think I'm just going to bet on the unknown and hope that works out. Quite simply.
I am excited that Ironman is actually after the break and it's our destinations track this year. There's a certain part of me that's excited because we'll actually get to. There's a chance we may see Cairoli there again, but to see some of a good amount of the names on the U.S. racing side that are going to do destinations, your Hunter, your Jetts, potentially Chase, Jacob, Eli, that U.S. conversation. All at Ironman, but it not be the finale where some people are already completely 100% over it. To see it after a 2-week break when everybody's fresh, I think will be kind of exciting. It isn't the end all be all for Motocross of Nations, but it does have a little bit of a fun factor and talking point.
I heard the team will be announced at Ironman.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me because I mean the U.S. It's down to 3 people for the 450s, 250s. They had the conversation with Hayden this weekend. I wasn't told 1,000% it was yes, but they said it went really well. I mean, it's kind of obvious at this point he's going to go for 250s. So it's just down to figuring out, Eli, Jacob, Sexton.
I've just made a decision. I think Eli podiums this weekend. Don't know if that's a shock or...
This is why I haven't looked at his Washougal record overall.
Nothing sticks
decent.
out to me. I'd actually imagine that it would be quite the opposite because I would imagine that Millville, with a bit of loam, bit of something to grip onto, is more to his liking. But I'm just going to go out there and say big rebound at Washougal because I think he needs to. And I think that it will happen because I think that Eli can still show up, whereas Prado is in a deep, deep, dark place. Ironic, is it not, that an overall win at Millville boosted Jett Lawrence's 450 MX win percentage to 96%. 96, of course, the number of a rider who beat him to the Moto 1 win. And although Jett crashed on lap 1, full credit to Hunter because he stabilised, he maintained, He hit his marks. It very easily could have gone in the direction of Redbud had Hunter given Jett some sort of sniff of hope, I think. But Hunter really maintained well, and I think that speaks to his mental fortitude and charisma and all of that good stuff.
I also noticed after Moto 1, Jett may have been, I don't want to say displeased, but one of the most active I've seen him with the mechanics and the team about his bike setup after Moto 1, and one of the most in-depth, like, behind-the-tent debriefs. I know a lot of riders comment that Millville, felt different this year, and I think it's obvious because of the potential of rain. They did not rip it deep. Actually, I thought it was funny. I can't remember what social platform it was. I saw somebody comment, "I'm getting so sick of them ripping these tracks so deep. This was ridiculous today." I'm like, that is one of the most hard-packed, like, least ruddy Millvilles I've seen in a decade, I think.
I liked it. I saw quite a good... I saw Barcia put out a tweet today saying that it was the best pro motocross prep he had seen in a very long time.
I think, like, we've continuously beaten to death on this is rotocross makes it a bit one-lined in places, and the guys had the option to move around. Like I said, different though. I think some people it just caught. I heard more guys talk about bike changes after Moto 1 than usual. I just think it caught people off guard that they hit the base earlier, and it was just more like stuttery. I know one or two teams I talked to said that they were probably stiffer in Moto 1 than they should have been, just kind of based off of prior expectations of Millville.
In case you're wondering, Honda HRC bikes out front in both 450MX motos because they rely on that Yoshimura power. And likewise, Joe Shimoda told me after the race that the power, the package, everything is there. And if he doesn't get the start, he can only blame himself, undoubtedly. Once again, hinting at the immense power the Yoshimura exhaust drives forward up the famous Millville start straight. And you too could experience something similar if you head to yoshimura-rd.com. Thank you to them for their support of this podcast. And in exciting news for Yoshimura, Tim Geiser's back on a bike, so they may even get a GP win or two before the year is out. But the title's gone, so that's sad. But not the 450MX title, and not the 250MX one yet either. Keep your hopes up. Stay believing. Chase, better result, worse ride than Redbud, I think, is the appropriate reaction. I mean, obviously a better result, but I feel like Redbud was much more exciting and more promising. And
I'm on the fence. I thought, the drift off in Moto 2 doesn't help. I don't know. In Moto 1 he was able to, in a sense, latch on with Jen, run laps and sections with him and stuff. I don't know if it's just didn't latch on as much this race. I didn't see the lap time difference shows, but I thought he looked fine. Bike setup looked fine.
No, bike setup. He said he almost. What did he say in the press conference? He said he could have walked down the hill faster because he felt very uncomfortable, and more stuff of that sort.
I filmed him and a couple guys going down. And I thought his downhill pace was one of the best in class.
But this is second moto he's talking.
I didn't go over this.
Yeah, that's gonna free practice the highway. It's gonna be fine for everyone, isn't it? But I think the balance of the bike is a priority there. But yeah, I think Chase is now gonna. I think Chase is certainly the next best guy behind the Lawrences, and he is now going to just keep inching towards them, and that's kind of the story to watch. I think this is your podium. Well, I just said Eli's going to be on the podium. But realistically, this probably will be the podium here for a little while.
Yeah. I wonder how that affects somebody like a Jay Coop, who's been more in line to when Aaron and Eli have started to falter to be the third place guy and maybe start to kind of get closer, be there closer in the first couple laps, latch onto those pace more, and then you insert somebody like Chase that kind of obliterates that gap for him. It puts him back in the off the podium no man's land a little bit.
Well,
not no man's land, but for what expectations are.
In fairness, I think it's an absolute miracle that J. Coop managed to race, because he looked in a very bad way. And a fifth in Moto 1 was, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe he was on the start line, let alone running top 5. So
I couldn't believe he got up from the crash and finished that practice in general. The qualifying session, I thought he would have just rode right off.
No, none of it makes sense. But I guess he just really wanted to jump back on that Yamaha. Couldn't resist. They probably tried to stop him, and he was like, no, I want to make the most of this bike every single opportunity that I can. And you can do that too. Let's see here. So we've done... I'm on high point results, which isn't very helpful, but obviously we were just doing that. RJ, This has really turned... I mean, okay, if you want to be Debbie Downer, then focus on the gaps. But I feel like this is really turning into something quite exciting, positive, promising, and more of the sort. Or you can be a Debbie Downer and focus on the gap.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, yeah, the gap is big, and there is definitely a question mark. There is a small part of me that's like, oh, I wonder if you calculate his overall time versus a 250 where he'd be at. But straight up, the class he's in, top fives, potential for a podium, or he already got the moto podium, of course. But yeah, it's looking good for RJ. I think the biggest thing is I was always worried about him going to the 450 class as of recent because of the wrist issue. Like long term, what that was going to do with him already being a bit up there in age for his career. But no, it looks like he's having a second renaissance because he just got his 250 title 2 years ago. But the continuation of his career looks better than I would have expected on 450. So, and also less RJ moments. He really is a bit calmer on the bike. So maybe we actually get more of a healthy RJ for the next year or two to kind of build on this.
I think RJ becomes a reference point for riders in years to come when teams are like, should you move up to the 450? Well, look at how it worked for RJ, you know? I think that he's a reference point for not holding on so long in 250s.
Allergies are killing me.
Okay, that's cool. Just in case anyone was wondering about that.
Well, I keep having to rub my nose, so it's better than the other thing that some people think when they see people rubbing their nose repeatedly.
I don't even know what the other thing is.
Cocaine.
Okay. I was thinking COVID.
It's been a while, Lewis. So I think we've been a while since COVID.
It's been a while since cocaine for most people as well. But I guess speak for yourself. I didn't manage to catch up with RJ after the race. I really wanted to after such a great day, but I did catch up with a rider who was just behind him. In fifth overall, Justin Barcia, his first top 5 of the season. He's gone 9.75, so a very stable, consistent run in his return. Of course, we know he's not returning to Gas next year. And I have to say, in lieu of a chase interview from Millville, which is heartbreaking, Barcia really stepped up to fill the void. And I encourage everyone to go to our YouTube channel, the Vital MX YouTube channel, and watch the Justin Barcia interview, presented by Decal Works, as a matter of fact, and see what he has to say, because there's a lot. Ducati and contracts and self-belief and if I try to summarize, for some reason he said he wanted to send a message at Millville because he thinks that everyone in the pits thinks that he's gotten soft. And I was like, no one thinks you've gotten soft. I don't know where you've gotten that from. So that's why he was super aggro. And you saw with Prado in one of the motos, he really was like shutting down that door and sending a message, I felt. I tried to get him to be a little more open, talking about offers and and he did say that he was talking to Club MX. He had an opportunity there, but ultimately they wanted him to sign earlier, and he wanted to hold on because Ducati is his priority.
Yeah, I think Club admitted they gave him an offer that literally had a 1 week timestamp from when they made it, and it was right at the beginning of outdoors, right around there. So it was pretty aggressive, but I mean, I joked with Justin one time, and he, like you said about bugging every team, he literally joked that he had called a bit of everybody at one point.
Ducati is certainly his priority. He's being quite forward with that, and honestly, I think that happens. I think it's just a matter of time.
Oh, yeah. It's. I would say at this point, it's basically a foregone conclusion. It is funny as you have somebody like him transitioning, and I mean, it helps that, in the sense of Ziggy and some of the FC crew, there's a lot of familiar faces there. One of his prior mechanics is over there. But just the amount of time he spent over there this weekend. Actually, him and Tony traded jerseys at the end, and he gave Tony a jersey. It said "not bad for a retired guy," and then Tony put something on his in Italian that they had to translate. That I can't remember quite what it was, but it was pretty funny. But
it wasn't in Italian.
Spending a lot.
It said,
was it?
It said, "Hey Justin," or "To Justin, keep your feet on the pegs."
Oh, I thought he said it was in text. I thought he had to bring it up or something.
Nope. Clearly, you need to watch our interview because he gets it out for the interview and holds it to the camera. So
I just saw him do it, and I saw him get his phone. I thought he had to translate it. I was trying to get our quote for Cairoli.
No, so there's that. So the story behind that is apparently Tony was making fun of Justin at Redbud because he was coming out of the gate and his feet were all over the place. Which
there's a photo they were showing earlier in the day. Oh, that's why he brought up his phone, because he's like, "What's this about?" And there's a picture of Tony coming off, just like perfect technique, committed. Jay Coop's next to him, and Justin next to him is 5 feet out of the gate, and both feet are off here, and his head's all the way over here.
That's just Justin. Tony needs to understand that that's just Justin. That's just Justin. That's quite hard to say.
It's just Justin.
And then what else did he say? Oh, the weirdest one to me is, to end the interview, I just said, in a word, can you win 450 SMX? Expecting him to go, yeah, I can. And then we high five when we move on with our days.
Yeah.
And he just stared into the camera for what felt like an eternity, to the point where I just went, hello? And he was like, he went, shh, I'm thinking. And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know why you have to think, because I would have presumed again, yes, boom, we're done. And then he started going, yeah, I think I've started expecting too little of myself because I don't know if I can. And I was like, oh, fucking hell, we're
going down the rabbit. You have opened. You thought you were done, but you had just started.
So I can't remember what his eventual answer was. I think it was yes, as long as I believe in myself. Or maybe it was maybe, I don't know. But great interview. Justin was on form. Very entertaining, and it's made possible thanks to our friends at Decal Works, who support all of our post-race content at Vital MX, from this show to post-race interviews on YouTube to the post-race interviews on podcast platform, and more of the sort. Anyway, Malcolm was really good, I felt. Move forward each times. I felt Malcolm was really, really good. Dare I say, Malcolm maybe impressed me more than anyone? I don't know why. Malcolm was really good, I thought, based on what we've seen previously. No? Maybe it's just because Malcolm passed Prado and passed Tomac.
I'd say that might be part of it, but I will say for outdoors, like everywhere I saw him, he was aggressive, pushing the whole moto, scrubbing through everything. Just like, we know he's a very stout, like when he wants to go, he has a lot of intensity in his style when everything is clicking. And I feel like it's rare we've seen that in a long time in outdoors where he looks like that across the whole moto, and he did at Millville. So I get what you're saying. Every time I'd see him at any point during a moto, I'm like, Malcolm looks like he's going pretty darn good right now.
Congratulations to Colt Nichols, who went 15-15 for 14th overall and got the train back on the track, because I don't actually know what went wrong in recent weeks, but it was, I would imagine, horrendous for him, and he was in a deep, dark place. So acknowledgement where it's due for him returning to roughly where he should be on the track, I would say.
Yeah, we jumped down a bit. How about Gio, though, for second or sixth place in Moto 2?
I said to Gio at some point earlier in the year, I was like, I think, like in an interview, I said, so the goal must be like 6, 7, 8. And he was like, no. Like, he felt that was crazy. But I feel like this isn't that surprising, because yes, it's the upper end of what Gio can do, but we've seen the potential to mix it in this bottom half of the top 10.
Yeah.
Or is this a massive surprise? I don't know.
Maybe for like the general person, but I do agree with you. Like, I mean, a little bit of stars align, I say star align though, but like the moto he gets 6 was Prado's good moto, but Jay Coop's rougher one. Definitely Tony having to come from the burning his ass thing, which we'll get to, Barcia back. But like, I don't know, other than Tomac couple, like I still think it is pretty solid, because there isn't of that top group, there isn't as many that had problems. He just had a very solid race across the board. It is fun to see him now conversing about staying here. Like at Southwick, he was asking Hunter after the race a bunch of questions about SMX, and he wants to do it. And then seeing him wander around the pits and actually talking to some smaller, some B-level teams about actually staying here next year. Seeing him kind of prioritize and talk about that more and more is pretty cool.
Yeah, he should be picked up for 250 Supercross. He's got history in Supercross. He's been impressive in Supercross. He is a low risk move for a team, I would say. Whereas someone obviously like Patrell would be a very high risk move, because I have zero information to give you on Patrell in Supercross. But Gio is fairly safe, I would say. I don't think there's much room for that to go wrong. Antonio Cairoli. So first moto, I was very concerned because I couldn't see where he was down, but the announcers kept going, and Tony Cairoli is still down, and I was thinking like,
Yeah, he
fuck.
was trapped under a bike, burning his leg in his ass or his back.
I was thinking, fuck, like this sounds quite serious. I really hope he hasn't hurt himself. That would be terrible. Obviously, he was trapped, burnt his ass. Marshall Welton, full credit to Marshall Welton, who went by, turned around, and lifted the bike off of Tony. Tony said this was the first time in his career he's been burned, which is quite remarkable, I feel, because I think it's quite easy to get burned.
So, at least something small. This definitely was not small. Like, it went over to me, showed me. He's posted a bunch of the photos, but he was showing us, like, his one entire cheek and a big portion of his back up into his shoulder. He had second-degree burns.
Yeah, I was talking to someone after the race, and then I turned around, and Tony was stood there with his phone, and he went, "Do you want to see my ass?" And I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
There's...
I was standing. Who was I standing there? I think it was with Justin, and I asked him, "How did you ride the second moto?" And he
how
said,
did you ride the first moto?
Well, that's a good one too. No, he was talking about the first moto, and he said every time he would sit on it. He goes, "So I changed my style. Instead of clenching, I'm just gonna say bluntly what he said. I opened my ass." Like, what? Yes. I didn't hold as tight. I opened so I could sit over it a little more. Just the way he kept describing it, I made a Ryan Hughes unlock your hips reference at that point, but it was pretty bad. I'm impressed that he finished Moto 1 with nothing, covering. The pants are torn open on that side, directly exposed, rubbing on the seat cover. At least there was some immediate adrenaline. I'm more impressed that he went back, got it wrapped up, and still decided to race Moto 2 and do it quite well.
Yeah, I was very impressed. Once again, similar to the Redbud first moto, that I was just very impressed at where he was, his fitness, his all of that. Like I can't say enough about the legend of Antonio Cairoli based on these two events.
40 years old, 39 this year, coming up on 40.
And the good news is I think we're going to see him a lot more in the form of more outdoors, maybe SMX and maybe the Motocross of Nations. Although I'm a bit concerned that today sunk his Motocross of Nations desire because Bonacorsi and Ferrato did quite well. So
yeah. It's funny how it changed over the weekend because on Friday he said that he really wanted to do Buds, which me and you joked about is surprising because on paper Buds has not been a good venue for him, but he said he really likes the track. So he commented about wanting to race Buds, and then at some point the conversation came up that he could be selected for Motocross of Nations, which if so, it was like, well, you might as well race Ironman, which then turned into, well, if you're going to do Ironman and Buds, why don't we also just do Unadilla since you're here? And then it turned into people having conversations with him about SMX, including some of the guys from Supercross from the management side that happened to be at the round, talking to him about what the structure is and how you get in. And his prior mechanic Pedro telling him, "There's no whoops, you're good."
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull up what he said about SMX. But yeah, essentially he said, why not? He said that he thinks he can get in if he keeps racing, which he can if he keeps doing 8, 9, 10. VLCQ, he can get in. I think that it is impossible for him to get a direct seed. No whoops. I mean, what would you say? I would maybe watch it with one eye closed at first. Just, I don't know, I would be a little bit like, I don't know how this is going to go, but it should be fine. Maybe.
How did he do? I know it was very different, but I'm trying to remember. How did he do at the original Super Motocross race?
I don't think he did it.
Did he not?
KTM,
was he hurt?
KTM was Dungey,
Marvin,
Hurlings, and Marvin.
Okay. So he must. Okay.
What year was that?
2016 or earlier?
No, it was
off.
16. It was 16.
16?
Yes. I don't think he was hurt. He probably just because it was Supercross, I guess. But I honestly don't think he does SMX. I do think he does more outdoors. Well, he basically confirmed in our interview that he's doing more outdoors. And when I said goodbye to him at the end of the day, they both said to me, "We'll see you real soon." So
yeah, I would say bare minimum after talking Buds. And then he said Motocross of Nations he was hoping to know in about a week or a week and a half. So I think we'll know shortly after Washougal at some point during the break if he's coming back to do Ironman to get ready for Motocross of Nations then.
Yeah, I don't feel confident about him being picked for the Nations. I really don't. And
I don't know how does Italy work in the sense of not paying attention too closely to their selection process in the past. is it truly off form, or is there any politics involved where they would just lean that way just because?
No,
Just because of history or things of
no,
that nature.
they like to give the current young riders their dues. Like they don't just select based on it being Cairoli. And like I say, I think that there could be a just cause for it if Bonacorsi and Ferrato were struggling, which Ferrato certainly has, and Bonacorsi has here and there. But after today, I mean, it was a sand race, so maybe that plays into it. But after today, I could see them being like, yeah, we have to give Bonacorsi the seat.
I think because that's what they were talking about in general. He thought if he was selected, it would be him, Bonacorsi, and Adamo.
He told me it would be Guadagnini, but then maybe that was in an interview, so maybe he told me that because of Ducati.
Oh, yeah. See, off hurt me because of the Ducati thing, but he mentioned that he didn't think they were going to pick Mattia.
Ferrato's back, though, so maybe there's that. 250s.
250s, yeah. Nothing else in 450s.
Do we want to discuss Hayden Deegan's TikTok? No, we don't. I've just decided.
No, I'm out. I don't want to talk about it.
I don't know what to say. I will say that I can see there being potential benefits for the sports fan base. However, I think we're going off the deep end of that a little bit. This opinion that I can see the benefits was more like Tuesday last week, not Sunday.
Before you saw
now.
all of them? Yeah, I'm out.
No, not before, but like last week we really went down a path quite aggressively.
Oh, I went and watched all of them. I went
Okay.
and watched all of them. And yeah, I'm out. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just out.
Are you surprised that he won Millville?
No, not really. I mean, it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the year. He's so dominant right now. I'm not surprised. Other than, correct me if I'm wrong, had he never won a moto at Millville? I thought I heard coming into it. Had he not won a moto there?
I don't know. All I can remember from last year is the first turn crash, bent pipe, and all of that good stuff. I think he was second overall at Millville last year, though. Let's go straight to J-Mark because this will help us unpack
absolutely.
Hayden. So, does what J-Mark did? Yes. Does what J-Mark did say something either positive or negative about the current 250 field? Because no one can beat Hayden Deegan except for Jeremy Martin, who basically hasn't raced in 3 years.
A little of both. I'll unpack my second one because it comes back to why I always say, like, I beat this to death sometimes, that when they talk about the sport leveling up, I don't always subscribe to that theory that much. Yeah, a little bit to you know, whether it's Levi, whether it's Joe, whether it's some of these guys, like, look at where Jeremy was at the opening 2 rounds, and then Jeremy just puts his head down, and Jeremy, even though he admits to really battling some demons to get to this place, in the same breath, we also know that a Jeremy that's clicking is one mentally tough SOB. Somebody that is just willing to grind and bury himself for a result, to train, etc. So it comes back to a huge part of the sport. We all know that Jeremy is on probably the best bike in the class at the race. He's on a Star Racing Yamaha. Jeremy's raw speed is some of the best there's ever been in the 250 class. His corner roll speed is some of the best there's ever been. And even though he only rode the bike 5 days going to the race, we know off-bike fitness is some of the best. So what's the last piece of the puzzle that allowed him to do what he did? All up top. He shut everything out and basically said, F it, this is how I'm going out. So when I look at somebody like Levi's results sometimes, and somebody that clearly has the skills to do it, I just kind of wonder, like, as much as, you know, some of the guys there laugh off Hayden's mental games and the way he plays with it, I also do sometimes go, man, he's the only one here that believes he can do this every single weekend. And I really can't say that openly about anybody else in the class, that I really think they truly believe in themselves that much or put themselves in that place mentally.
Well, I think that what J-Mart did will only hurt the competitors' mindsets, because if I'm Levi, let's just use Levi as an example. If I am Levi, I'm looking at that and going, okay, so he managed to do that, and I'm beating my head against the door every single week and can't get through. How can he just come in and do that? Like, that's almost frazzling my brain more so than just a regular defeat. You know? Like, in a way, you could see the other riders being a bit bitter almost. Like, hang on, we've been working on this Deegan guy for years, and then you've just come in and done that.
And you can play the local track card thing, but like I said, the biggest one to me is the fact that he openly said it. Since we saw him at the beginning of the season, he rode the bike 5 times before this race.
Well, and also you can play the track thing, but he also lost there in his peak when he arguably shouldn't have lost there if there was a home track advantage. So I think there's a home mentality advantage, especially in this scenario. But also that could have played against him because of the emotions of the occasion and all of that. And it was very, very, very cool to see him crossing the finish, the reaction from the crowd, him laying the bike down on the following jump. That whole spectacle was, I think, something that will stay with fans forever and be earmarked in moto history.
Because how many riders truly... Think of so many guys that didn't go out on a top race. James Stewart, Chad Reed, Adam Cianciarello. I think Ryan Villapoto, his MXGP race. Like, how many, even some of your biggest names, have not been able to have their fairy tale final race? They have this retirement race where it just kind of goes but we're all excited. Everybody celebrates afterwards. But how many guys really get to do what J Mart did and truly go out on top and win the final moto of their career, and especially after everything he's been through? Like, Jeremy's done something that even some of the best in the sport don't get to say they did for their final pro race. He'll still do, Canada, but like a main world's level series.
Not relevant to the winning part, but I was trying to come up with a comparison of a rider coming out of retirement per se, for one race, killing it, and that sort of dynamic. I thought about Mikel Pichon because he retired in 2006, came back for the British GP in 2009 and went like 7-8, which still, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then I settled on, I think the best comparison I can come up with is Townley at the 2015 Motocross of Nations, where he was done, came back kind of like randomly, and then I think got second in a moto and almost like ran up there. Like, that is the best or the closest comparison I can get to this J-Mart dynamic.
What was Villo? Did Villo retire for 2 years before he came back and did Monster Cup the 1 year? Was it Monster? I know he did the Aussie thing. Didn't he come back and do Monster Cup after he'd closed the chapter?
Yeah, he did Monster Cup 2018. But that wasn't... I can't remember the results, but that was...
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of something... I'm trying to think of one of those top guys that took, like you said, it wasn't just a final race. It was a final race after some time.
Yeah. Townley's is the closest in my mind just because of the success of the occasion. Like, it was... Although he didn't win like J-Mart at a Motocross of Nations, he was absolutely incredible. And ultimately... got a deal for the following year, but I don't think J-Mart is on that train, although, as you alluded to, he did say on press day that he would be open to doing Canadian nationals. He listed a smorgasbord of events.
Yeah, he basically said, I asked him, he said, this isn't me done, like, I'll still do an oddball race here or there, but he basically said this is the end of him chasing a championship, a professional series, and particularly racing, like, AMA level. But he did say, there's other things he would goof off and do. But he also, because I was teasing about the Phil thing, and he's like, I'm not going to do the Phil thing. Like, I'm not coming back to race another series or something. He said he would do a race here and there, but he wasn't going to commit to anything.
I think, although this was great, I think that the past couple of years are a perfect reminder of why he shouldn't commit himself. Because there have been many, many lows for Jeremy Martin recently.
I'm stoked that even afterwards in the moment, like I under the tent afterwards, one of the people that I think said it to him was, I think I heard Coker say it to him, congratulate him, is like, so is this really it? And a lot of people asked him that behind the podium, and every person, as quick as he responded, he's like, I'm done. This is it. Like, done. Yes, I'm good with it. Where, many others could have a result that he did and be like, No,
but again, I think all of the troubles over the last couple of years give him the perspective to realize how lucky he is to have what happened to Millville. I think that's what keeps him grounded to the fact of what a blessing this is, rather than just, oh, that's sick, let's keep doing this.
Well, if it was a situation where, like, example, even what he did with Star this year, let's say he would have been signed at the beginning of the year, like he had never taken a gap, but he had been hurt continuously like he has, and came out at Millville, said he was going to retire, like this might be the last one, and then comes out and kills it, but he had never had the gaps. Yeah, it would probably be like, oh, I can do this again. like I said, I think there's a lot of perspective in what he's been through the last couple of years.
Joe had no rear brake in the second moto, as everyone knows, but I think he has really established himself now, or once again, as the second best guy in this series. I don't think there's any doubt about that, is there?
No, not at all at the moment. Again, star-wise, everything, it's just everything else in this class. It's beyond Joe and Hayden. It's just such a mix. Every moto, every race, there's the most, I would say, outside of those two, the next most consistent person is becoming Mikkel. Like, he's the next most reliable thing I can see kind of around that top 5, 6. I almost expect to see him after the last couple motos, where everything else to me is just a toss-up. Like, oh, look, one moto, Seth's in the top 3, and the next moto, he's 15th. Oh, one moto, Levi's in the top 3 or 5, the next moto, he's 15th.
I'm very happy for Mikkel. Very, very happy for Mikkel. And you know what? He's proving to be a revelation. Like, even the starts are consistent. The intensity was a lot better this weekend. I think in the second moto, he went from 9th to 4th by the time that he hit the finish line on lap 1. That was kind of the missing piece. I don't think there's anything about Spring Creek specifically that would have played to his skill set or made him more comfortable than other tracks. He's had great rides at Trentino, so maybe that means that Washougal will be even better. It would be a travesty if he ends this season without a podium, because I think we're in a position now where he's certainly deserving of one. And, you know, in most instances, a 4-3 will get you third overall. Look at last week, Jalik went 6-3 and got second overall. So Harrop was unfortunate to miss out on the podium, but that doesn't take away from how brilliantly he rode. And
I think it happens over the next 4, because, again, remove Jeremy, just everybody else is such a mix. The only person other than him that can claim any level of consistency is Marchbanks, and Garrett has been excellent this season, but the one thing that's going to kill Garrett still is starts. He's going to continue to pass 20 freaking people on moto to get to where he is.
Yes, isn't that the truth? And Garrett, so I spoke to Garrett after the race. He said that they've got some new super secret star improvement that he doesn't want to share. Certainly doesn't, but he always said in the past it was user error and something to do with him releasing the clutch the way he released the clutch. Supposedly, this new super secret improvement puts even more emphasis on how he releases the clutch. But when he does, it's better. I don't know. But he did not want to share any details on this. And apparently, it's just him who's got this super secret thing. And that's all very exciting.
You know what's funny is, speaking of which, do you remember a couple of years ago, and it's kind of funny how Star sometimes would always jump on the latest and greatest, and a couple teams did for a year. Do you remember the clutch release cylinder that would allow guys to drop the clutch, and it was like an arm system that would hit? Yeah, that was one of those items that's similar to linkage hole shot devices and a few things that were like a thing for like a season and a half, and have just disappeared again.
You could probably do a good story on things that have been a thing and then disappeared for no reason.
Yeah. I feel, again, like a linkage whole shot lockdown, like those come and go. They'll come for a year where one guy will run it, a bunch of guys will jump on it, and then it disappears for 5-6 years. That whole shot link armor's been a couple things like that. They're just, everybody has to have. Oh, one small one I thought was interesting. Star 250 team runs, after being Air Forks for years, they run Air Forks indoors, and pretty much everybody on the 250 team runs Spring Forks outdoors now since last season. J-Mart tried the first 2 races. He came back at Millville on Air Forks, which he had always, raced competitively for his title. So small note there. I thought it was kind of interesting.
I asked Marchbanks about his deal for next year, and I said, are we at least moving in a direction? And he said, no. He said he's still holding out hope for a Kawasaki seat, and it's not really going anywhere, but it's not a no. Like, it's not going in a negative direction either. It's just kind of a complete waiting game. He did say that he has reached out to other teams. Like, he has at least put himself out there, but as of now, he's not close to doing a deal.
The one that hurts for him is, I thought a week or two ago, I was thinking, okay, I from another good source, I'd heard that Mitch told him, if it's 1,000, 100% up to me, you'll have a deal, but they got to work out with Cowie, so it's still lagging and lingering at this point for Garrett. But I thought, okay, we're getting kind of down to the wire, because surprisingly everything else is done extremely early. I thought, okay, he'll be the default if something else falls through the cracks for a factory team. And in the case of with Tom Vial, likely to go back to MXGP. It was like, okay, well, Rebel KTM would do a 250 rider. Maybe that would be Garrett. With Triumph, there's still the question mark of Styles' Robertson's risk going forward. So I thought, okay, one of those two spots. But then, as I found out this weekend, I'd heard this rumor and I went and checked with Star, but Caden Minier is only signed for this year because I had heard Minier's name pop up with KTM. And I was kind of curious. I was like, okay, yeah, he has a pass there, but there's no way he's not locked down at Star. And technically, Minier is not. Minier is a free agent for next year, based on even Star's own word right now. It sounds like, everything I heard is they intend on keeping him, but that kind of does hurt maybe Garrett's chances a little bit, even though Garrett's having a banner year. The little bit of flash Minier had, the youth, a couple things, like he may be prioritized over Garrett on some of these opportunities, even though, like I said, I really thought at this point Garrett would be the go-to choice if somebody has a spot available. KTM
strikes back. They steal Bennett back. They steal potentially Minier back.
That would be funny. Back. I'm going to call Blair, see if he's punching the sky right now.
But no, I guess, we're getting to the end of July, so things have got to start happening here soon, silly season-wise. But it is interesting, because Marchbanks and Kitchen are tied in the points now. So if Kawasaki don't re-sign their top finisher in 250 Outdoors and one of their... Well, to be honest, if you look at it, he must have been the top finisher in Supercross as well, mustn't he? Because everyone else got injured.
Yeah, he would have to be.
Yeah, I feel like I'm forgetting one person, but yeah, no, I think...
Oh, Seth.
There we go. I knew I was forgetting one person.
Close. But Garrett is their best in combined right now by a decent margin. He's 60 points up on Seth for the SMX Championship.
Yes, so there is... he has leverage there, I think, or a reason to slam his fist on the table and be like, "I deserve this." It's not hidden behind layers of poor results. It's quite in everyone's face why he deserves to be re-signed. Dylan Schwartz has been really good here lately. Mm-hmm. Nice little consistent run. Credit to him. Skipped over Levi Kitchen in 6th, but I guess he twisted his knee in the first moto. But it checked out okay, and there's no concern, and hence why he was top 6 in the second one. I feel justified for what I've said about Austin Faulkner on these podcasts recently, because there have been flashes, and it has been better than it looks. And credit to him once again, because he must be fit, in shape, motivated, because even racing around the top 10, he made 4 passes in the last 2 laps in the first moto, and something similar in the second. So whether he's in the back half of the top 20 or the back half of the top 10, he has some dig in him, and he has fitness, and I think that's deserving of credit.
Yeah, I think it's just been figuring it out when the gate drops. When I even brought it up on Friday to Scuba, and he said he's good during the week. He's right there with Jordan and Mikkel. Like, I keep hearing Jalik's speed during the week is fantastic right now, but Austin's right there with the rest of the guys. It's just taken a bit to figure it out. I am really impressed that he basically figured out across both motos. I think that's the big part of me that's a nice turning point. Him getting a top 10 result here midway past the season wasn't going to be a shocker if it included one decent moto. But to see a nice, consistent 911 from him is, to me, even the bigger positive to build off of. It wasn't just a flash in the pan start or pace that got him there to really consistent results.
And 4 triumphs in the top 10 is deserving of a round of applause as well. That's really quite something. In year 2, easy to forget, it's only year 2.
How about the little bit of the randomness of result, though? Jalik's, again, the pace gets 16.5 for 9th. That is a random one right there.
Yeah, maybe lucky to get all 4 in the top 10 with some of those moto scores.
Still hats off.
Moserman, I don't know what happened. He went 5:18, and I saw him limping in the airport this morning. So I'm guessing the 18 was crash-induced. But a 5, that's further evidence of how good Moserman has been and the fact that it is indeed sustainable. Maximus Volant had no front brake in the second moto, hence why his second moto score of 17th was so much worse than the 10th. Vial. I don't know. Obviously, the second moto, there was nothing he could do.
Yeah, he cartwheeled his brains out.
He rung his bell. I've heard, I guess we'll know more today or tomorrow, but some people have said there's more than just hitting his head and maybe a shoulder issue. I feel like he just beat himself up. Yeah. He rode back to the pits himself, so I feel like he'll be racing Washougal personally.
Yeah, the
But
team referenced the shoulder thing. When I asked one of them afterwards, they said he commented that he felt like he had tweaked his shoulder.
we did have a bit of a breakthrough in the sport, I feel, because I asked Ian Harrison about Tom's offer, and Ian openly discussed it's a 1-year offer. It's kind of going to stay that way. They're not giving him a deadline to decide. They want him to think it all through. They're aware of his other offers, those being Honda HRC. Although he did say offers, but I think that was just more a generic term.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of there being any others. And yeah, a nice bit of transparency. So I want to thank Ian Harrison and KTM for being honest, and I feel proud of the sport. To be honest, that was a real encouraging step forward. And this encouraging step forward is brought to you by the MotorX Magnificent Corner. No, the MotorX Moving Forward Corner. No.
Ian Harrison Herald?
No. The MotorX Candid Corner, because it was very candid of Ian Harrison to say that. MotorX, known for high-quality engine oils, also has an entire line of clean care and lube products to keep your bike running strong and looking great. Maintenance made easy with race-proven MotorX clean care and lube products. I don't know when we will find out what Tom's going to do. I think that he wants more than 1 year from KTM. I don't know if he's going to get it. So as I put it to Ian, I kind of feel like him and KTM are in a bit of a stalemate at the moment. So
I heard the same over the weekend. Like, he's dead set on he wants that second year. And I get it from his end. You win 2 world titles for the brand. You win 2 U.S. Supercross 250 titles for the brand. I get his standpoint of wanting that commitment. But I also get the point, like, there's a part of me that struggles with, hey, Plessinger has done a fantastic job for them as well, and Plessinger is still on 1-year deals. I have a hard time there. Like, if that's the standard, if that's where Aaron's at, I kind of get it. Like, it's hard to give Tom a multi-year if you're not giving Aaron multi-years. And ultimately, the team is the one with the power in this situation. They feel like, and they are willing to, I guess, risk it, gamble it in a sense, because I do think, and you probably think so, is like, if it really comes down to they stick at a 1 year, I think he goes back to GPs.
Well, I just think logically the GP offer is the attractive one, and it's a business at the end of the day. You've got to do what's best for your bank account and your long-term security. So, but time will tell. We don't have an update on Hammaker yet, but that doesn't look great. I mean, he's also dealing with a fatigue, Epstein-Barr type deal, so a crash and physical issue on top of that isn't ideal, but as of yet we haven't had an update from Kawasaki, so no word on his status moving forward.
What I was going to say funny is I was going to tell the Tom starter story from this weekend. They went out for second practice. The starter, like kill switch function stuff was all screwed up, so the bike wouldn't start, so they had to jump start it by basically running a jump starter pack onto the starter motor to fire it. They get it done, like, you know, first the practice has gone out. They're just coming around. He's going to miss about just the opening lap. And they tell Tom, do not hit the kill switch. You cannot restart the bike. He gets on the bike, and the AMA guy, John Start, says, hey, you can do a practice start if you'd like, because, you know, his blocks are. He rolls up there, and I think it's just natural habit, kills the bike, and goes to start it to do the launch control sequence. I think he does it all together normally. So he kills the bike, and they're like, no! Had to redo the jump starter. They told him again, do not shut the bike off. A couple laps later, comes into the pits to make a suspension change. Shut the bike off again. They had to jump it again.
Well,
I felt so bad. It was one of those moments I'm like, yep, it's a good thing they're dirt bike riders.
Anything else on 250s?
No.
I mean, it's all Tomac, Prado, and J-Mart. That's kind of the Millville narratives. Everyone else can be a background character for now. That's at least how it feels in my mind.
Let me ask you this, actually, one more on 250s. Is Joe the only person we see potentially taking overall from Hayden the rest of the season? Do you, like, we go to Washougal, do we feel strongly enough about Levi having a magical weekend or something like that, or are we off? Is it just Joe is the only person that can do this at this point?
Isn't Joe really good at Washougal? Why does that stick out in my mind?
He might be. I know he's good at... He's good somewhere after the break. Is it Ironman he's good at as well?
Levi and Washougal is a very checkered past, so I'm not
very
so
up and down
keen on that one. But I don't know. I can't. Hard to say because also I do feel like Deegan does manage this thing and back off as we get into the championship zone.
He's gone. He went third. I'm talking about Shimoda. Third at Washougal last year. Seventh overall the year before. Fourth overall the year before that. 13th overall the year. What was the third last year? What was the best moto portion of it? He went 3-3 last year.
I don't know why I have such strong feelings about.
He won Ironman. I remember what I was thinking of. In 23, he won Ironman. He got second at Ironman in 22. He's also won Dilla in 22. And if I remember right, is Dilla around that Hayden has not won a moto at?
Well, Hayden's barely won second in the second half, so.
Yeah, but I feel like Dilla's one of the rounds. I don't know if he's had him.
Hayden has never won round 9 on. So
yeah, overall, but I didn't know even moto. I'm trying to think of ones if he's even
hold.
like the ones he's even struggled with moto wins.
He won a moto at each of the final 3 rounds last year. So
okay,
if Unadilla was round 9, which I suspect it would have been, then he went 1-2.
Yes, he did. Kitchen went 2-1 that race.
Thank you to Decal Works, Yamaha Motor USA, Yoshimura, Fox Racing, and MotorX for their support of this podcast. Of course, thank you to you people for listening each and every week. It's much appreciated. A lot coming up this week, so stay tuned to Vital MX's various different platforms for all that is coming from Millville, and all that's coming in the lead up to Washougal. That will be round 8 of 2025 Pro Motocross. So much to look forward to, so much to wait and see. So we'll be back in 7 days' time to recap all that's happened deep in the Washougal trees, and we'll see you then.